Uh, oh, okay. And we're live. Hey everybody, Ben here from DMC Films and Cinderblock Studios, and welcome back to Cinderblock Studios Live, episode 005. Today's topic, I didn't write down. Oh, there it is. Creativity at its core. What exactly does that mean? Well, sort of the beginnings of creativity. How do you start? How do you start thinking creatively? And a lot of this, I didn't really know what to call this live show today, so it's kind of just a catch-all for some recent thoughts. So tonight I am joined by my two fellow YouTube artists, possibly a few more later on. Don't really know at this time. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Yockel. I am a visual artist living and working north of Pittsburgh, PA in the United States. And I do mainly acrylic paintings and some drawings and videos here on YouTube, but as for tonight, I'm actually doing some mixed media work. So I'm going to throw this over to, we'll start over there with Juanita. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where they can find out more about your work and what you do.
My name is Juanita McCants. I am I guess, mixed media artist because I draw, I doodle. I doodle, I spin yarn, I knit, I crochet, and I work. And you can find me, Delquan, on YouTube, mostly, and shespins.com.
All right, and most of you by now, since it's the 5th episode, you guys know Lucas, but one more time, go ahead and throw your name and everything out there.
Hi, I am Lucas. I am a student going to school in Texas, and I like to draw and to paint, and I actually just started a small blog about entertainment, like books, and I actually just did a blog on The Legend of Korra, which is an awesome show.
All right. So, welcome you guys, and welcome to anyone watching, both anywhere in the U.S. and around the world, since I know there are several of you that are global. So, on to today's topic of creativity at its core. Actually, no. Before we do that, Juanita, I'm actually curious to know what you're working on this evening.
I don't know. I haven't been drawing a lot lately, as you can see. Just been doodling. So I'll probably just start with a blank piece of paper.
All right. So, creativity at its core. How exactly are you supposed to be creative? Maybe if you're not familiar with it, still sort of learning the creative process and all of the things that it entails. Well, the first thing off is to what I'm calling explore like a child. Children have this amazing, wide-eyed wonder about the world. And I was watching a recent TEDx talk from a magician by the name of Jason Latimer, and he was talking about how much, when we're little kids, like you see something new, you just have no idea, like it just blows your mind, and then depending on the person you are, you might be like, how does this work? How is this a thing? And really, that is the first creative question that you ask. So you ask yourself, you ask your parents, you ask whoever, why does this either look like this, or why does this work like this, or anything like that? And in this sense, you start to explore your world in the smallest possible increments. Now, well, some people explore when they're kids. Some people kind of grow up and forget that they did. Maybe you weren't as active. Maybe you I can't think about what you as the viewer were like when you were a kid. That's an entirely different philosophical ballpark. But essentially, what you do in these levels of exploration, whether you're new to art or more experienced with it, is that exploration builds a visual library. So I'd like to hear your guys' opinions on this. What exactly, Juanita and Lucas, you have to say about the early stages of creativity and exploration. Anybody?
Well, I think it's probably accurate. I know that it's kind of weird to talk about creativity when you're kids, because for talks with you, and like you know that I was pretty creative, like pretty creative, like at the point of age 9, where I was like writing sketches and things like that, and then like I see kids like being creative, like okay, they came up with their own darn idea, and then I see kids pretending to be creative, but just like ripping off TV shows. Like say my niece wrote a page that was pretty much a summary of the first episode of My Little Pony.
Well, you can't say that that completely isn't creativity. I mean, there is creativity, but there's a difference between creativity and the creative product, let's say. So you say, like, well, it may not be art, but it is a creative act.
Yeah.
Juanita, any thoughts?
My thoughts is that parents should be more accepting of their children's creative interests, whether it's drawing or knitting or sewing or what have you. Whatever it is, it's stimulating their minds, it's giving them ideas, and that's always good. And it also helps ensure that that child has something that they can do that isn't school related necessarily in their downtime. You know, you never know. You might have a Picasso or Rembrandt on your hands, and if you stifle that, then the world will never know. There could be a bitter old woman like me instead.
Oh.
Oh, that's mean. But it's a really great point to bring up, that there is a lot of responsibility that lies with the with parents of not just young kids, but teenagers as well, to encourage them in whatever they happen to do. I know through the course of my, I would say, preteen to mid-teen years, about 15, I was just throwing ideas out there of stuff I wanted to do, and just trying all kind of different stuff. And it's the thing is, my parents were very understanding about it. They're like, okay, we'll buy you this thing to kind of get you interested in this, and I play with it for a while. Like, no, I don't really care for that.
Aww.
But wasn't your mom an artist as well?
She was, and I don't. We have a few of her pieces up and around the house still, and I remember I would always see them, but I don't know if she ever really worked on anything when I was a kid. I know she was there to encourage me when I was interested in art, and to kind of push me in the right direction when I was struggling a little bit. And whether or not you have a parent that's into art that actually knows what they're talking about, or if somebody is just like, hey, I'll sign you up for these classes and get you into this, can be really, really vital.
Zuckelbane.
Oh, hey there. Really, really important finishing that point. Is Childlike, who I recently recruited from the DeviantArt forums to join our little crew here in the Google Plus Hangout live show. Feel free to, and anything else you want to throw out there.
Okay.
Not to put you on the spot, but welcome.
I feel very welcome.
Oh, excellent.
Yay.
Welcome aboard! Woohoo! A real artist.
Hello, everyone.
Now all the pressure's
Hey.
on him, and I can doodle all I want to.
Oh, I doodle, but I can't really angle my camera that good, so.
Right.
So what are you working on?
Just a doodle that I drew, and I'm trying to color it.
Looks pretty nice. You got some interesting movement going on there.
I've been trying to get more motion into my form.
It's kind of like a scorpion meets gecko meets alien.
I was thinking of the alien too. but kind of
that's
Froakie also.
what caught my attention.
Wait, no, not Froakie.
Froakie? That's not even a word. Former
It,
English major, what's wrong with you?
it's a Pokemon.
Oh, whoopsie.
They got Pikachu. They got Pikachu. They don't have Pikachu.
Heck, one either probably even knew that.
Knew what?
Some Pokemon he was talking about.
Gotta catch them all.
Easier said than done.
Sounds like you tried.
In the latest game, I've captured 196 of the 650 some.
Oh, nerds. not that I'm. Hey, I'm one of them, but let's be honest. I was just never into that series myself. So let's throw things
I
back to
always
the
wanted to see
topic.
Brock get murdered.
You want to see Brock get what now?
Yeah. Murdered, killed, destroyed.
Oh man! All right, so let's throw things back into the topic for this evening. So we're talking about exploring like a child and sort of being encouraged to create. One note I put the difference on is when you're exploring the world, don't just think about the big environment, but also the very, very small one. So it's what I call the big world versus the small world. There's the big world, there's landscapes and environments and all that fun stuff that I do. But then there's the small world, which is smaller, maybe mechanical things. Maybe I'm, look at this knife and see how the round structure of it and how it shines, and really sort of small objects as well as large objects. So when you're exploring and looking at things and really studying things and looking at them, so there's a colorful paper towel because I had some ink on it, so I can look at it and say, okay, there's folds and things in it, and it goes this way with these shapes and things, and you're studying it and you're looking at it and feeling it and touching it, provided you have the senses that you can do that with. Like if you're blind, obviously there's issues that go along with that, but that's a topic for another day. But you're going to be able to play with it and pick it up and find the tangible aspects of something that you can really sort of enjoy, and my video feed disappeared.
I can see you. Hang on
Well,
a
for
second.
some reason I can't. Wait. Oh, I'm back.
Yeah.
I imagine one of my devices is interfering with the other, or something. Anyhow, so you have a big world and you have the small world, and other things like once you're old enough to go out on your own or whatever, you can travel if you have the financial opportunity. If not, sort of walk around your neighborhood where, if it's not too dangerous or something. Really study your environment and not just look at it, but also start sketching of what you're looking at. And as you do this, you're building slowly building up that visual library. If you guys have any thoughts on this, on sort of how to explore your world, feel free to jump in anytime.
And I'm back.
You left and I was still talking. And
It's cool.
so anyway, I just threw it out there for you guys if you wanted to talk about or have any points to bring up about sort of traveling, going out into your environment, sketching, and sort of bringing that back to your own sort of creative thought process.
Well, I am not comfortable as of yet drawing in public. So, knitting in public, spinning in public, crocheting in public, I have no problems with. But drawing in public seems to attract more attention than those other crafts of mine. For some reason, I haven't figured that one out yet.
That's actually kind of interesting because I just read an article last night about a guy who doesn't like knitting in public because he gets very into it, but he was knitting at Starbucks and like 3 police officers literally approached him asking, what are you doing? And like they actually knew what he was doing, but it's like, what are you doing specifically? Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. Must have been you.
I think it was me.
It was all you. How dare
Oh,
you?
I'm a horrible person.
How dare you stream on a what is that, tablet?
Tablet. I, I'm sorry, internet.
Yeah. All right. So diving in, I had 3 main points to hit tonight. Uh, we're on to the second already, and then after we get through, we can just do whatever the hell we want.
Woo!
But
Fun.
the next one I wanted to bring up was the relationship between art and science in the overall thought process. Um, Now this next point is somewhat more opinionated on my part. This is sort of my own thoughts about the process, and other people may have very different um, views on this, but this is kind of how I see it. And to me, what I do as art is a pursuit of understanding the world. Essentially, I'm looking at something, I say, why does this look like this? How can I mimic this? How can I change this and make it sort of represented in my own way? And so every painting is a series of problems to solve. Everything, in a way, is its own method of how do we get from this point to this point to this point and do it well and do it right. So in that same way, it's like, okay, let's say I'm studying a mountain in a digital art piece, like I do all the time in my sketchbook anyway. So I'm like, okay, this shape looks like this, and it's in this level of perspective, and with this color and the lighting and everything. And I usually, it doesn't always turn out well. I've come up with several sketches. I find a good recent one that was just horrible. It was a decent horrible one. So this sketch up on the top, I started in the piece is supposed to extend like this way a lot more off to the side, but I started working on it because I sketch in pen and I can't erase. And I'm like, this is horrible. I'm running out of room. This is ridiculous. And I ran out of room. Like, well, I'm gonna finish the sketch now. So of course, just played around with some lighting and shadows. But someone's breathing heavily. Something. Anita, what are you doing over there to that camera? Poor, terrible thing.
Well, it's been a while since I've been in this room broadcasting. So, hello, everyone.
So yes, might just wait till you're done at this point. Okay, it looks like you're done. So I'm gonna start talking. You'll move stuff around again. But
I can unplug that.
this pursuit of knowledge and understanding through the creative process, and my next point is going to be something of. See, she's starting to do it again.
Your
even let me-
mic should be picking up so much sound. Here, just put the camera on you.
Well, it's I would have to mute you then, and I don't want to do that.
It won't hurt my feelings. Do what you gotta do. That's
No,
me. Realistic.
This the new live shows are more about discussion after I sort of introduce the thing, but I'll hand it over to you guys here before I hit the next one. So this pursuit of knowledge and understanding, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Is it similar to your own creative processes, or do you have something entirely different?
Um,
Mine
my
is
thought
entirely different.
process.
So your Sukube, yours is different.
Yeah.
How so?
I think about the interest in things. Just think about all the different things. What makes something more complex and more interesting? So
Right.
every time even when I go outside, I just look around and notice the little things that make this neighborhood different from other neighborhoods, or makes it the same. I just kind of notice things like that.
Right. So you're more staying more in that sort of the early stages, so to speak. You're seeing that the big world versus the small world.
Actually, it's kind of
More
both.
about diversity, the complexity and diversity of objects.
Hmm.
So he might notice a tree one day and notice the trunk and the texture of the trunk. And then the next day he might actually notice that the tree is actually in bloom. Something like that. Just by looking at your environment around you and taking notice of the environment around you, the people around you. You might have neighbors you've never even seen before. And for some reason, one day, you realize, wow, I've lived beside this person God knows how long.
And they're weird.
Yeah, that's part of what they say about you, Ben. But hey,
Oh.
I know I'm weird. I'm not even gonna.
you walked into that one.
Don't have to tell me twice.
But you wouldn't be Ben if you weren't Ben. So,
Nope, I would be Steve.
yeah.
Nobody likes Steve.
So was Juanita close? I don't know.
I need to. I don't know why I
Push
picked this one to start with.
push the
There's
issue
some stuff
there.
I like in
So what about you, Lucas? Is that anything? Is the pursuit of knowledge anything close or?
I guess it would be similar to the way you do it, Ben. Wow, everyone's acting weird. It would be similar to the way Ben does it, and in terms of pursuit of knowledge, it really has to be something that I'm truly interested in, like art for one thing. I do actually go out and like research things like, oh, this artist did this artist did that, and different techniques and other stuff, and some science stuff too.
No, you are a science major, so that helps.
Yeah, but that's because I have to do it, so I'm not so fond of doing it.
Wow. Yeah, that was always a thing for me, is just finding something I was interested in. And for me, art was always that one thing I kept coming back to. That could hold my interest long enough that I could actually make progress in. So, speaking of you being a science major, you'll probably appreciate this. I had a thought the other day. It was that the scientific method, in its core, is also the artistic method. It's like, okay, that sounds odd, because a lot of people think, okay, science and art, they're very different things. And the truth is, they're not. There's a link down in the description box. You guys are welcome to see it after the show or whenever. And it's linked to Adam Savage from the Mythbusters, who had a conference, a short conference at South by Southwest back in, I think it was like April or whatever that was. It might have been last year, for all I know. And what he talked about is how the link between science and art are very, very similar, in that it is that pursuit for sort of an end, so to speak. And I probably am not describing this anywhere near well enough, and I haven't watched it in a while, but it's out there and well worth the watch. But so I looked up the scientific method again, because I haven't touched it since high school. No reason to, really. But I looked at it a little bit more, and I was like, this really is the artistic method at its foundation. So, and of course, there's little individual breakups to the scientific method, but I kind of found what looked like the closest one to what I remember anyway. So the first sort of section would be a question. So in the scientific world, it would be, why do these bees make their pollen, or whatever the hell ever? And so my question, I know that wasn't even completely right in any circumstance. Bees don't make pollen, but you know what I mean.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just laughing my ass off. I know, I'm not. So my question as an artist would be, what is my next piece? So do I want to do a painting? Do I want to do a drawing? What is my next project? And then there's the research section. Do I need a reference? Do I need to do some practice before I start this piece? And usually I do. Then the third step in the normal method is your hypothesis. Hypothesis, excuse me.
That's okay.
And so for me, that would be I'll try and use paint this time. I'll try and use colored pencil. I'll try and use pastel, whatever. I'll try and make it in this way. So then you do actually do it, the experiment or the making of your painting or drawing or whatever you do. Then you finish it, of course, but that's all part of the making of it. Now there's the analysis section, or what I call the critique, whether or not you're posting it online and having other people, shit on your work, or if you are doing it yourself and looking at it and say, okay, do these follow the basic elements and principles of design? How well do they fit into this sort of box model? Do they stretch the rules a little bit? Did it work? Maybe I did something wrong, and start learning about why you did something wrong. And then your conclusion at the end is, what can I improve on for the next time? So with those steps, you can look at it, going through and saying, it's the pursuit of the finished product, but you're doing it in a much more refined method. So your thoughts on this, everyone?
That
It
makes
needs
a lot
to
of
be
sense.
accosted by a cat right now. I have no thoughts.
Just everybody goes at once.
It's extremely reasonable to do it that way, but I don't think many people actually do.
Yeah, I mean it's not a foolproof method anyway. I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but it's just a thought that I had, like, hey, it actually kind of fits into this model a little bit.
I'm more of a victim of circumstance. Every time I accidentally do something right, it's because of all the practice I've done just having fun with art.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I've started to learn the principles of art and started using it in my work, regardless of the things I've actually learned in art classes.
yeah, that's a good point, and I probably should have thrown this in there somewhere. You should still be having fun while you're doing this. There is a process, there's a method, there is work to be done. But if you're not having fun, there's a core problem in that as well. Which guy was I cutting? I've lost him already. There he is.
Oh.
Which man was I cutting up? I sound like a
Pissed
murderer.
off Englishman.
Which man was I cutting up?
Oh, now
Turn into
you're
Sean Connery.
Connery.
Turn into Sean Connery for a minute there. Excuse me, Mother Penny. That's it. No other thoughts.
Yeah. I think I got a severe right now.
I see two in my thing, but I think one of them's me. So.
No, my friend literally started texting me right now, and she wanted to call me on the phone with advice on a painting. It's like, what are you doing that you won't answer my call? Like, I'm on a podcast live show. She's like, what?
What? I have to watch this right now and embarrass you.
No.
I hope she shows up and makes a comment too. Actually, that'd be fantastic. Oh man. So that's still pretty moist. So, if those of you that are just joining us, if you happen to be just joining us, I don't know, we are talking about creativity and sort of my thoughts on the artistic method, and everyone else is pretty much telling me that I'm wrong. So
I didn't get to say, but you're half and half, in my opinion.
I'm half and half.
Yeah.
So what? You're throwing me in your coffee now?
No. Well, no.
Well.
No, I agree that with the process that you do in your head of like, okay, what am I going to do next? Do I need to draw it ahead of time? Do I need to do it on Photoshop ahead of time and then actually do the thing and live and learn and be satisfied with it or not? Or which in a way is sort of the scientific method, but the scientific method is more of a letdown in real life, where it's like, oh, my hypothesis is wrong again.
Again. Right. Yeah, and I should note too that I'm very much a process artist. I enjoy taking things from my sketchbook and into Photoshop and then to the canvas. But I know lots of other artists that just literally just jump right in. Like they have sort of an idea in their head and then they just go. And I worked 2 years ago at my city's art all night, which you can see the paintings up on my DeviantArt, and I think probably a handful of other places as well. But I believe the piece is called Becoming One. It's a woman in a tree, with like these waterfalls and blue and white circle-y thing. And the guy that I worked with, really great artist, but and the thing is with this event, you meet your partner the week before you work. And like, oh, hi, how you doing? I guess we should come up with something. Which is really kind of puts you on the spot. And my partner at the time, his name was James, and I'm like, so what do you do? He's like, oh, I just jump right into a piece. I'm like, oh, well, humor me a minute. Let me think a second. And I was thinking something with maybe a couple of these elements. And he goes, okay, that'll work, and I'll just go with it. But it was really interesting for me to see him work because he really just kind of lived in the moment of the piece, and that's really interesting to me because I do have pieces like that. A lot of actually, especially what I'm working on with my mixed media work, especially some of the stuff I'm doing tonight. This is significantly less planned. This is just me throwing things together, and I do like working that way from time to time because it clears my head a little bit more. But for what I consider bigger pieces, I kind of need that process to come up with something that I think is more refined and more, I don't want to say dignified. I mean, I do, but I don't because I feel like that's hating on people that do it the other way. But yeah.
Art is an individual process. It can never be. It's different for everybody. You know, what you do, what your process is, might help someone else as far as organizing their thoughts and developing their own process that works for them. But no two artists are going to do anything the same. You're not going to hold your pencils the same. You're not going to do any, draw the same. You're not going to develop your portraits or your pictures or your concepts the same. I mean, because we're all individuals, and art is a very individual art. Not to say art form, but craft. It's a very individual creative craft, and I say craft not in the sense that of what people have tried to make crafts to be in something that some woman does while she's home knitting or crocheting, but a craft in its most purest form is the actual art form of what you're doing from the beginning to the end, from the development process to the finished product. It's the craft.
Right. There's
art.
There's more to. Actually, I'm going to do a blog post about this coming up soon. About there's more to creating art than the finished product.
Yeah.
I mean, there is, but the process is actually part of it as well. But yeah, that's a great point, and wise words from Juanita.
Well, I can't have wise words every once in a while.
I wanted to say that was a lot of W's, but your name starts with a J, so.
Yeah.
So, I lost the thing I was cutting again. There he is.
Huh?
Die.
So.
Die.
Yeah, that was. I went on to my next point, and that was the point that I just made. Art is also the process and not just the product. I did that last week too. I went through and.
Last week was interesting.
The 20 minutes that I was talking and I had to start over.
Yeah.
Oh man. Still embarrassing this week. So.
We're not professionals.
The other point I wanted to bring up because I follow it's Adam Savage, Jamie Heineman, and Will Smith and Norman Chan on Tested, and they're a group that call themselves makers, and they're people that build props and costumes and machines and just really, really cool stuff. And in that, all of that is a creative act. You know, I've always kind of said that everyone is creative. They just have their own medium, their own product that they sort of come up with. I mean, even the athlete is
Sitting on
somebody
top of the
that's
desk downstairs.
creative, and there's a cat. Well, we're going to be YouTube sensation. Juanita's cat's
You know
here.
what funny it is? Watch her try to drive Bill's truck as small as she is.
My daughter is here.
Yes,
Aw.
I hear it.
You hear? Yeah. She
Yes.
came for food. She didn't come to see her mother.
You need to send me
Oh.
the
Oh,
picture.
She is my artist
terrible
daughter.
daughter.
Yeah, she's the one that's at ODU in art.
Oh, excellent.
Finally make it.
Ooh.
I beat Garage when he had 27 health and 2 armor, and I had 9.
He's talking about Hearthstone.
Oh, I
Uh-huh.
got litter. A big bag of
You
litter.
guys lost me now.
It's a
The
game.
whole tone of the evening just changed.
I'm sorry, my family encroached on my space. It's came up here,
Joe
so I
better
wouldn't
than
be
soccer.
around them, including the kitten. She just laid on top of my bed, and so it's yeah.
Oh.
So her name is Mushi.
I feel the need to go get my cat now.
So we
There you
got
go.
I got this kitten so that the other cat would leave me alone. Playing epic fail. She follows me around like a little dog.
Get an empty box.
No, she puts things in the box now. She doesn't sit in the box. She just gets like all her toys and papers she wants to keep, little strings that I throw at her to leave me alone. She puts those, she
Really?
collects them in the box. It's like her stash place.
That is so weird. I've never had a cat using a box as a box.
Yeah. She's a weird little kitten. She's not scared of anything. You should see her when she's play fighting with the big cat. Cat outweighs her by about 20 pounds.
Oh,
Oh man.
that's a
So
healthy cat.
you and your cats. So anyhow, I was
Well,
saying
dog
before.
died. What was I supposed to do, Ben? Move, Moochie.
What?
My little rat terrier died, so what was I supposed to do?
Oh.
Oh. But yeah, so I was saying there are these people that they call themselves makers, and they build things basically, and it's the end result may not necessarily be something that somebody would consider art, but it is a creative process, and it is a series of problems that need to be solved, which is diving into my third and final point for the evening, which is this I'm actually going to dive into in my blog post a lot more, is that art in a lot of ways are these 100 problems that need solving. And I just said 100 because it's an arbitrary number. It's just a number to make it sound more interesting. So the execution of a project is a series of hurdles, essentially, that you're figuring out how to jump over. So you have, okay, I've got this person or this tree or whatever, then I have to make them kind of look all right. And in that sense, you're solving problems. You're solving the problem of the hand or of the arm or the limb or how the eye, making sure the eye looks right and the lighting and everything like that. And it's sort of this process that I've been talking about, but within the individual piece, as an artist, the way you learn is to solve all these little individual problems. And every individual piece is one problem to be solved, and within it, there's all these other little problems to solve as well. What are your guys' thoughts on that, if you have any, of course?
Well,
That's
unfortunately, I'm not serious enough about it to have problems with the stuff. That's why I do.
I think that's actually pretty interesting to think about for myself, because like I've talked about it before, and like I've talked about it with Ben a few times, where like there's a level that I am at, and I got to that level through constant practice because I just wanted to, because I usually paint portraits, and I was like, I want my people to look real, so I practiced for this is about my third year of doing it, and my niece, she is only 7, and she's like always complaining, I'm never gonna get as good as you. I'm never gonna get as good as you. I'm just like, you first off, practice a lot more if you really want to get good. And like, it's kind of interesting to talk about it with, like, trying to simplify things, saying if you do this, it'll be easier and help you improve and stuff like that. I lost my train of thought.
I know what you're saying. There's you don't want to. There's no quick fix to a lot of things. A lot of young artists are going to say, "Oh, I want to do this one thing or these couple of things. All of a sudden, I'll be better." You know, it doesn't work like that. You know.
Like, she is actually
you
very good. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying. You in a lot of other fields and disciplines, you can do that. You can say you can do these things and you get better. But art is a little bit more organic, and that you can't always tell people that kind of advice.
Yeah, like she actually is very good for
that's
her
the problem
age.
with getting advice on art.
Yeah. So what was that?
There's a problem when you give advice on art because some people simplify it too much. Because if you say practice, that's good advice, but it's just too simple. It's too simplified. It's like saying to draw a head and someone draws a circle and 2 dots.
Yeah.
And you can understand the head, but it's just so simple you don't really care.
Mm-hmm. There's I see this on the forum a lot. People are like, oh, just practice. It's like, that's nice for some people. Like, okay, I'll practice more. But some people don't know what that means. Like, what do I practice? You know, where do I go from there? What does that even mean?
Oh,
exactly.
I think it's maybe easier
like recently I got some advice to start drawing skulls to get better at drawing heads at angles, and it's worked.
That's wow, really? I was gonna say that's really weird advice.
I like that advice.
Where's Wayne Tully at?
Well, I think like the reason why I just say practice like out of habit is because I was in marching, like in band from 6th grade to 12th grade, and like early on they tell you, okay, do these, do them constantly, and that was immediately how I learned how to perform practice. And in terms of drawing, when I started actually drawing stuff, one of my friends said always start off with the eyes and build around from that. And then I decided to cut away from that and start with the different parts of the body.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's because not everyone's going to have the same sort of level of self-discipline that you know, you yourself have. I mean, it's one of the things that when I started doing tutorials here on YouTube, I had to start thinking backwards a little bit, because there were so many things that I assumed people knew that they didn't. So it was like, oh, why are you putting this thing, doing your thing with the brush this way? Why just? And I had to start thinking, like, oh, they don't know because nobody taught them. You know, not everyone has the privilege of maybe an art program in their school or whatever. You know, whatever however any of us have learned. And you know, if you're starting from ground zero, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Bitch.
Somebody needs to show me.
Oh.
I thought you got them all out. Come on.
Something happened. I noticed that something was knocked over in my room, and it's like, wait, my painting cup is under there, and now there is wet acrylic all over my backpack.
Ooh, fun. Turn it into a painting.
I'm gonna be right back.
Impressionist art.
Oh, Monet is probably rolling in his grave. That's not what I meant, you son of a... Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so bad. Art, humor.
And I find that if I do a lot, that it helps me get my hand ready to, like, when I do something that's more realistic or serious.
Right.
It helps me, just get ready for it. I think it prepares your mind. It warms up the muscles in your hand. Some of you younger people might not need that because I've been using my
Yeah.
hands typing all day at work, and that's totally different from coming home and then doing something creative that requires eye hand coordination as well as reaching a state of mind where you want to create and you want it to come in a fluid way. You got to get your mind ready for that. You got to get your brain focused on that to the point where you almost like zone out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I think a great way to describe the process as well. But,
Oh,
so diving into my last couple points here, and then we can open things up a little more. Again, if any of you out there are just joining us talking about creativity and finishing up talking about creativity in the early stages of the artistic process. If anyone out there has any questions for us, feel free to throw them in, and we'll get to them as soon as we possibly can.
Miriam, if you're watching, that is you.
Oh, we actually do have a question sitting in here. Look at that.
Oh, who is it from?
We have Ghost59 Abel, who writes, do you think concept art will be needed 5 years from now? Yeah, absolutely.
Hells yeah.
Yeah,
Of
it's the
course.
basis for almost any type of media, be it commercials to animated movies, concept art, thumbnail sketches. That will always be needed.
Yeah, and I should make note the concept art is a really broad field. A lot of artists like I'm an aspiring concept artist. It's like okay, well that's really broad.
Yeah.
There are so many different fields within concept art. There's illustration, which is one of the most common ones, especially for
Architecture,
people doing cards. Architecture is a good one.
automobile.
Industrial design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right, industrial design. What else am I thinking of? Visual development artists are in animation, particularly, are pretty good. I bring up this guy Chris Oatley from time to time. He was a visual development artist at Disney for a number of years, and that was the thing. It was that sort of concept art in illustration field. It's like, can you build up characters and work on things that way, or build environments, or whatever they happen to be. But yeah, you're looking at a really, really broad field in terms of concept art. But there's always a need for it. If anything in the entertainment industry, games, movies, that kind of thing, it will exist as long as those things exist. And especially concept art as a whole has existed before the idea of computers. And the place that it existed was in illustration. And in a lot of ways, concept art has its roots in traditional drawing illustration, and it just has moved into the digital environment.
Gotta save trees.
Instead,
the
we're
Lorax will
mining
get you.
the Lorax.
Yeah, if you don't save trees.
I love the Lorax, but not the movie, the book.
No, fuck. I mean, the movie is awful. The book is good. Book and animated movie are good. Movie horrible.
I didn't actually see the movie, but the book was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
You don't want to see the movie. It's awful.
Okay, I believe you.
Well, I never read the book, but I like the movie.
What?
Wait. Do you mean the
Communist.
cartoon? Wait, do you mean the cartoon movie or the piece of spit animated thing that was made a few years ago?
The
I think I
3D
scared him off.
animated.
Really? I'm
Yeah, the
sorry.
3D animation.
Wow, really?
I need to read the book to see how far off it was from the actual animated
It
version.
was very far off from the
Because
book.
certain parts, it seemed like it was just cobbled together. That it wasn't very coherent. I mean, I did enjoy the visuals in the animated film, but the storyline was very weak, very weak.
Very weak and very hypocritical, in my opinion.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I do want to dive in. I do want to bring up my last point for the evening before we get too tangented off. We're already there, but let's be honest. So my final point. This kind of goes into, I guess, everything we've been talking about and nothing we've been talking about. But it's just a final little thing I wanted to throw out there, and I've brought this up in previous live shows, is that because you're trying to solve problems, and talk about how in the Lucas, you mentioned normal scientific method, you're failing a lot. Actually, I would say if you're not failing a lot in art, you're probably not learning anything.
This is true.
A lot of the stuff the paintings I put out there, some people seem to enjoy, but I was like, I hate this piece. I hate it. It was terrible, awful. I hate this thing. But somebody else seemed to have deemed it valuable, so I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll let it sit for about a year until I paint over it. But my idea with any painting is when I sign a piece, I won't go back and touch it ever again. But what I will say is I'll know for next time. And there are artists that'll go back and sign it and then retweak for forever. And I personally don't like that idea because you have to call it done at some point. I used to say that there are two ideas for when a piece of art is done. One, it's never done, which nobody likes that answer. Or two, it's done when you feel if you do anything else to it, you're going to mess it up. And that's the one I kind of stick with for the time being. And now, if you do anything else to it, you'll probably mess it up. And so, the whole thing behind, at least my idea of the creative process, is fail at least half the time, because then you know what you did wrong, so you can do better the next time. And that was my last point for this. So let's dive into any more tangents, unless you guys want to jump in on another
Well,
point.
on that last point, my definition of a finished piece is kind of more open-ended. It's finished until I start working on it again.
Oh man, it bothers me. You're not wrong to think that, but it bothers me.
I agree with Ben. Sorry. But something I will say that one thing, because like Ben mentioned something about if there's a mistake, there's a mistake, and I personally think there are no such things as mistakes, only happy accidents.
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
You can the way I see that is you can fix some mistakes, but some you can't. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, I fell on my face. That's it.
Nope. Don't
because
because
if you don't admit that you failed, it's the same idea of this educational movement where parents aren't telling their kids that they have a wrong answer or they failed because they're not learning how to be wrong. And if you don't learn how to be wrong, then you don't know how to grow.
That's true too. No, you're right.
Burn.
I guess that's a problem. Because if you're learning to do art and you make lots of mistakes, but you don't know that you're making mistakes, that could like really damage your knowledge of art.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Actually, that is kind of a problem right now with the book industry because I don't know how many of you guys read YA fiction, which is young adult fiction. A lot of it is crap in terms of reading level and the quality of the story. And it's like, why are all of these authors getting published and then you have writers like E.L. James who wrote 50 Shades of Grey who like literally wrote it on her BlackBerry, and there's countless grammar mistakes everywhere to the point it makes Twilight look like something amazing. Can't believe I just said that.
Yeah, we're all gonna shun you in the comments for that.
Shun me, I deserve it. But shun 50 Shades more.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean that's a good point. You know, you gotta.
And the other thing is, if they don't learn the right and the wrong while they're still young and moldable, then as they get older and someone corrects them, it'll hurt their feelings. They won't be as open to change, or they might just give up the craft completely because they feel that all these years I've been doing this wrong, I might as well just find something new to do.
Give up.
Yeah, they just give up. So that's another reason why they need to learn when they're starting off the right and the wrong of the ways, because their mind is open to learning, open to adjusting their work so that they can do it right, or they can do techniques right.
That is actually literally happened to me with writing, because originally I was an English major, like Ben said, and I wanted to go into writing, and a lot of my English professors were a lot harder on me to the point where I was like, forget this isn't even going to get me a real job outside, like maybe as a teacher, but not even a real job. So then I just scurried on over to the science department, and it took off from there. And I didn't really like it. I do now admit that they were right, and I have gotten better at writing. And
they could have been going on you. They could have been so rough on you because they believed in you. Just saying.
They wanted you to get better. They wanted to try and make you want to get better. Instead, you gave up and went to another field.
Yeah, well, like
you're a quitter.
I'm a quitter. I kind of put it behind me now, but one of my complaints was I'm not dissing the Texas educational system, but generally, I was like, there's kind of two different parts to the education system that I was in, where like one half was, we'll just put these students here just to have them there and they can learn the okay things, and like the AP students are actually learning stuff. And for most of my academic life, I was in the upper half until I failed a test, and they immediately shunned me to the lower half, where I only learned creative writing and not actual, like how to write an actual essay, instead of like, oh, I wrote a short story, it's pretty, here you go.
Wow. From what you've described, I can easily diss the Texas educational system.
I actually look forward to taking those kind of courses later down the road.
Well, depending on where you end up going to school, there are teachers that expect you to know how to write by the time you get to college, and then when you can't, everyone's like, well, "What the hell?" and they're failing you, you know.
Well, one of the issues with my city is a lot of people, like literally, there are some students that live in Mexico and come over here for high school education because you have to pay in Mexico, and they go to school and they graduate with a high school diploma and don't know a single word of English outside of simple sentences.
That's surprising.
Yeah, and then they go to college and they wonder, why am I feeling this or something like that.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
This just got really depressing. Let's see if there's any comments.
I'm sorry I made everything down. Let's go back to bitching at the Lorax.
See, well, I finished my topic for the day.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there was something else I want to bring up with the thing, and hold on.
Bring that up. Make it happier.
Wait. I've got another blog post coming. By the way, I talk about blog posts. I've been doing these more in-depth ones and more in-depth posts on my DeviantArt page, but I started a blog section on my website where I can post things that I've been posting on the DeviantArt page as well, to just have an extra source for people, because not everyone's going to go to DeviantArt for those things. But one of the other ones I have planned is going to be something about. I think the title of it is your idea of what art is wrong, because there's this sort of idea that everything is art, because if everyone with a creative impulse is making art, it's like, no, that's complete and utter bullshit. It's like, I'm sorry to anyone who believes that, but it is wrong. It's wrong. And I put a thing up on my post to my Twitter the other day, and it was something that, like, I hate broad definitions of art because they completely destroy the more complex definitions of art. So my idea behind this is that if everything is art, then nothing is special. And if nothing is special, then nothing is art. So you've essentially created yourself a paradox if you say everything is art.
I agree. One of my professors, one of my least favorite ones, like, he would constantly say art is, nothing is truly art unless it provokes something out of you, and I would half agree with that. With, like, it doesn't have to provoke it. It doesn't have to bring up something in you to be art, in my opinion. But I do agree with that statement too.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. I kind of half agree with that too. I had a teacher that said there are two kinds of art: the art that makes you think, and the art that makes you feel. So maybe it's not gripping you emotionally, but it's like for my stuff's landscape, I want to make people sort of imagine they're actually in this space, even though they're just standing there and looking at it. So there is a level of sort of you want to make something that resonates with somebody, and you're not going to make something that resonates with everybody, of course. But if you're not even doing that a little bit, then you're probably not making something that is art. But at the same time, and I want to point out to the visual arts, because there are other arts that have other sort of different sort of sub rules, like performance art and that kind of thing. But in terms of visual art, there are rules, there are things, and you can bend them and stretch them and break them if you kind of know them already and can play with them a bit. But you shouldn't look at the rules as being just arbitrary, that you don't have to follow them. Because if you're completely ignoring every rule, what you have isn't art, what you have is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a thing recently. I saw something recently. Is close-ups of, I think it was close-ups of Van Gogh paintings, and something kind of struck me that I'd never seen before, because I've never seen one in real life, is that Van Gogh's paintings used just a crap load of texture, actual texture. Because you look at it far away and you just see sort of this swirly impressionist stuff, but they had sort of side views of angles, and they're thick loads. Like every brush stroke is like half a centimeter high because of all this thick paint that's on there. And it's something that kind of really struck me, because I was like, whoa. So anyone who's like, oh, Van Gogh just paints messes, and anyone can do that. It's like there's a lot more to those paintings than what you can just see in a digital image, or what kind of meets the eye. And Transformers.
I kind of want to see the new Transformers, but back to Van Gogh. I haven't seen any of his paintings like in person, unfortunately, but a friend of mine who has literally told me that they are thick. Like, I'm pretty sure they could pass the light test that you were telling me about last time, where if you hold it up to a light source, that nothing will get through.
Yeah.
And that they're very
Yeah.
detailed, and I just want to see one in person one day.
Yeah. There was yeah. So now that I've seen it, I gotta tell this story. I I talked to a local artist recently, a couple weeks ago, and I was in his apartment, and he's got a little studio in the back of his apartment. He's a really interesting guy, and I'm hoping to get an interview with him probably before the end of the summer. But I walked through his house and I stopped, and on his wall was, I think it was a Picasso sketch, or it was one of these most main famous artists. It was like a little print or not a print, a sketch. And I stopped. I looked. I'm like, is this thing real? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, how the hell did you get this? And he said somebody. I don't know if he must have done work for somebody or something, and it was like, I'll either give you money or this, and so he took that. So he's got this probably a couple $1,000 little. It's little too. It's probably about as big as this thing I'm working on is how big it is. But I was just like holy crap, mind blown. You and I think it was might have been Picasso that said something like, it took me however 30 years to learn to paint like a child. And there's this notion that, it's just, you're just putzing around. But there's, again, with talking before about all this longer process, there's so much more to it than just what is perceived. It's the longer, wider process that comes along with things. Which is why I loved YouTube, because I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Got really quiet in here all of a sudden.
Um,
Did somebody leave?
no. Hang on a second. What? Oh, I'll be in there in a bit. I'll be right back. I have food to eat.
All right.
All
We
right,
may or
bye.
may not be here when you get back. I'm not sure. We'll see how long we decide to run. But I do like to keep things, at least live versions of things, pretty fairly condensed. So actually, I think if there's nothing actual else, I may wrap up the live portion of the show. But for those of us here, we will usually stick around and continue talking in sort of like what I call the post show, but it won't be live. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, we've been going for just over an hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, and we'll go back and give you guys your little outros. But so thanks everyone for tuning in this evening, and those of you watching after the fact, further down the next couple weeks and in the future. Links to all the stuff we've been talking about I will get in the description box, and eventually there will be time codes, probably tomorrow, hopefully. By the time, probably late tomorrow, considering it takes me a little while to put these up. But yeah, so that'll be easy navigation for you guys to go back, see anything you missed, and yeah, go to rewatch the show. So I'm going to throw it over to my fellow artist here to give final closings. Juanita, why don't you remind everybody where they can find your work, and anything else you want to say in there.
Shespins.com, and I'm Dale Quan, DaleQuan on YouTube. And Dale
All
Quan in
right,
art.
you're okay. Next up, is it how do we pronounce that? It's Suku?
It's Suku Bane or Suku
Okay.
Bane.
So you're just giving me the option, so I can screw it up either way.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to share your page, or if you're too embarrassed, it doesn't matter. But feel free to say anything.
TSUKUBANE at .deviantart.com or YouTube.
All right. Yeah, and of course, congratulations, first time with us. Hope you can join in again. Always nice to get new artists in to the live shows. And of course, and there was Lucas who left to get something to eat. He's Lucas or Apology89 on YouTube. I'm giving you guys his stuff. So he's Apology89 on YouTube, and his DeviantArt is Hope. Oh, I don't know what it is because there's a number in there, and oh god, I gotta go look it up. Sorry, he's gonna kill me. Let's see. So his DeviantArt is there it is. It's Hope84 point 5 on DeviantArt for his art there, and that's Apology89 for him on YouTube. I'm Ben Yockel. As before, you can find my work at cinderblockstudios.com. Here on YouTube, YouTube user Davos Moon, or just search Cinderblock Studios, the channel, DMC Films, Cinderblock Studios. Be sure to subscribe for more art videos, live hangouts, and everything in the sort. And yeah, I think that was it. I screwed up my own intro. So see you guys next time.